right, what's up, folks? Sean, the Average Angler, coming at you for the April top baits for the month. And look, April's a month where, let's face it, the bite typically is on. We're getting close to or into the spawn in most of the country. Some parts might be done, but in our area, we're just kind of ramping up. We got the full moon in a week and a half, and the weather right now is kind of, still doing spring things. A lot of ups, a lot of downs. It warms up, cools back down, probably pushing the fish back or keeping them from really moving into that mode. Now, some will do their thing given the first chance once that full moon gets near. For the most part, the wave of fish is going to be held back. Anyway, we're getting into the top baits. Some of these are obvious, Some of them I'm going to sidestep a little bit, and I need to grab. Oh, here's one right here. All right, folks, I do want to add, I keep forgetting to tell you, on April 12th, the Coyote Bait and Tackle annual spring sale is going on. There's a bunch of manufacturers there. There's some big sales. I will be there. I will be getting up at 3 a.m. from Clear Lake, driving back here to work at Coyote Bait and Tackle for the day. If you're in the area or if you're local, stop by, come and say hi. Really appreciate it. We'll see you there. And some of them not so much, but I'm going to give you some explanations to go along with some of these bait choices, some of which I think are pretty cool, and I think you'll like it. I learned some of this a long time ago, and I use it every spring to help me locate fish. Okay, so number one on the list is going to be a spinnerbait. Low light conditions, I really like the painted blades. This kind of goes for throughout the season, but particularly right now, and I'm going to tell you why. And the other one is this one that has really big blades. Okay, the reason for it is you can fish it really slow. And as we all know, spawning fish do not like bluegill, or for that matter, anything around their bed. Now, I'll be the first to tell you that most of the time, if it's a bedding fish, they do not eat this. But what they do is they hit it really hard and give their location up. So this is kind of a method I like to use when I can't see them, if the water's a little dingy, maybe they're a little deeper than I can see down, or maybe it's just because I'm freaking old and I don't see that well. Anyway, this is a great technique to cover water, locate spawning fish, because they'll hit it. I mean, you literally feel them hit it. Most of the time, they're not trying to eat it. Sometimes you might get a hookup out of it. But anyway, the spinnerbait is a great way to cover water and learn as you go. All right? Now, you can throw a chatterbait. Everybody knows the chatterbait, right? Now, the other benefit to the spinnerbait is typically later this month, most places, if you have shad, you're going to get your shad spawn. And the spinnerbait's really hard to beat during a shad spawn, all right? If you've never fished a shad spawn, look for hard banks and look for the flickering. You'll see the flickering of the shad. That's them spawning. They'll get right up near the bank, and the bass will be right there ready to eat them, all right? The other thing I've done pretty well on it, like Clear Lake, for instance, is just a white square bill. All right, moving on. Now, this one's not really going to be a surprise, I don't think, if you've watched my channel, but it's going to be a glide bait. Soft or hard, it's really your choice. Okay, here's a few, 6 cents, and these are all, anybody can throw these. These are not big. This is a 6 or 6.5 inch, 6 cents. This one's called Heater Shad. Have not thrown it yet. I got this in a box last year. Good looking bait. As you can see, it's somewhat transparent. You'll see the light come through it. But it goes right, it comes in a really nice box, by the way. And I will say that this is a great way to store your baits because the packaging protects the bait from damage, okay? These tails, a lot of them are soft plastic tails. If the tails bend or get deformed, they don't swim quite right. That is the S-Waver 168, I think it is. Yep, 168. You don't need special tackle for these folks. They swim really well. They're easy to just chunk and wind, okay? You don't reel them too fast. And as you get more confidence in it, or if you have clear water where you can experiment, do some different things, and look and see what the bait's doing, okay? A really common one is speed up and then kill it, and it'll shoot out to one side. The glide bait is a great way to cover water. Now with glide baits, I mentioned the soft glide. You know, there's things like the Nessie, the 7-inch, the 9-inch Nessie. They don't really swim that well. The Osakana Slide's a good one. The IU Twitcher by Megabass, another good one. They're 7-inch soft swim baits, glide baits. They're a little bit more to the chopping style, which is really good. They stay up high in the water column, so if you're fishing shallow water, if you're fishing from the bank, you got those fish suspended up in the column. Really good bait to throw. Along the lines of the swim bait, glide bait, we're combining all these together, guys. It's just very simple. This is probably one of the no-brainers that we should all have tied on this time of year. That's a mag draft style bait. There's the 6-inch mag draft. This one's really good. I was throwing this one last year. It's a Devil Swimmer. This one you can swim a little faster than the mag draft. The mag draft's kind of particular about the speed you can swim it. Then there's the new 5-inch mag draft, which, I mean, really, you could throw this thing any rod you wanted, basically. Supposedly, they had said they fixed these so they won't blow out. If you reel them fast, they still blow out. That said, they are fantastic fish catchers. Again, very easy to fish. Just chunk and wind. Find the speed that the bait works best with. If you want to fish it a little faster, maybe something like the Devil Swimmer is a good one to go with. The other alternative is a good old line through. This is a bigger bait. I was grabbing some baits to show you, and this is now going in my pile to go to Clear Lake because I forgot I had those. All right, so moving on from the glide bait, the next bait is going to be, how can you not go out with the good old Senko? This color is a 926. Again, very similar to that 925. You'll see it's a multicolored. I really like these, okay? 925, 926, pretty much almost all I really throw in a Senko anymore. But the Senko is a great bait to throw around docks. Wacky rigged open water is what I'm going to throw, okay? Open water meaning if you're around docks, ledges, bluff walls, points, those kinds of things. Not throwing into cover. I want to wacky rig it. If I'm throwing into cover, then I'm going to Texas rig it. And Texas rigging is still extremely effective, folks. If anything, it's probably underfished. I mean, when the Senko came out, that was the only way we fished it. And they ate the you know what out of those things, man. Cost us a fortune. We didn't know all the rigging tricks back then, so you went through a lot of baits. This is the other thing I was going to say. Now, getting back to that spinnerbait, and when you feel them hit, you'll feel them hit it if you drag it by a bed or reel it by a bed. Immediately throw that Senko in there. 90% of the time, they eat it right away, okay? They're fired up from that spinnerbait coming through. They think they just taste a bluegill or something out of there, but they're kind of fired up. And you throw that Senko right back in there, and they will eat it. Sometimes on the Delta, I run around with a spinnerbait in some of the big bays, looking for beds with the spinnerbait, especially on a high tide, and then throw that Senko in there. Okay, next we got for flipping, pitching, those kinds of things. I am going to go with my ever-loving Rage Bug. And, you know, I really need to apologize because 90% of the time my brain relates things to Clear Lake. So I always use the Magnum, but there's the regular one. The regular one is freaking fantastic. This color is called Falcon Craw. It's green pumpkin with red, fantastic color. My favorite color this time of year is blue craw, green pumpkin with some blue. It just, I don't know, I believe it gives them a sense of bluegill being around them, and we all know how they feel about bluegill. All right, so where are we gonna fish this? And the reason I really like this, and one of the areas that I fish the rage bug quite a bit, is trees. Like at Lake Berryessa here, we have on the east bank and up north, we have a lot of trees in the water, brushy trees, okay? So those of you guys that are elsewhere, brush piles, trees, same thing. I'm throwing it in the deepest, thickest stuff right down the trunk of the tree, if you will. The landing percentage isn't always the greatest. If you hit them right when they eat it, it's much better. If you don't realize they ate it, a lot of times they got your line going back up. They're already out of the tree, and when you set the hook, all kinds of crazy things happen. But it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. It's a way to get bit. It gets those fish biting. And then I also use this in other places. You know, around tules, I do this a lot. I like to throw deep back in tules, okay? Especially on high water years where it might be 7-8 foot deep on the outer edges of it, but way back in there is where they're going to spawn. We can't get to them, but we can throw back in there. So if you see holes and various things to throw into, that's the other place I really like to throw them, and that rage bug just gets bit for me. Next one, this is just impossible to leave out, quite honestly, because it always gets bit. And spawning bass, pre-spawn bass, post-spawn bass, it really doesn't matter. They all eat it. Every type of bass eats it. Every lake they eat it. It's not what I like to do, but I've gotten my butt kicked by a drop shot way too many times. A drop shot is just a great thing to have rigged in the springtime. Most of the time I'm going to use the MM3 or the Margarita Mutilator, but there is a time and place for, guess what? That bold bluegill. The drop shot, if you just dedicated yourself to throwing a drop shot, probably gonna have a pretty good day. The drop shot just gets bit. And you can go down to a 4-inch. You can put a minnow on there. You can do so many different things. You can't go wrong with a drop shot. You can bubba shot. So if you want to throw on casting gear, you throw them back into heavy cover. You can bubba shot. And when I bubba shot, I like to use that rage bug or a rodent or a beaver, something like that. I just on the bubba shot, I don't know. I like the craw type, the beaver craw type bait. It just works well for me. All I can do is go off my experience and my success, and those just work really, really well. Last but not least, and this was a really tough one to choose because, well, I guess I'm not choosing. I'm telling you both. And I guess if I was choosing, it would have been between a jig and a shaky head, but I'm not choosing. Both fantastic baits, especially this time of year. The jig, it's the jig. I mean, big female bass love to eat a jig. I've got an assortment of styles and types here. There's a Bass Union finesse jig in brown and purple. There is a green pumpkin and blue pitching jig from Dirty Jigs. And there are a couple of, and these are kind of fun, guys, because these are swim jigs. Okay, these happen to be 1/4 ounce. They're going to Clear Lake with me. I just made these this morning. You can buy everything you need at Lure Parts online. And the cool thing about it is I can take a bunch more with me. Here's the skirts. Okay, there's an assortment of skirts. And then I've got the Bill Lowen swim jig heads here just ready to go. They've got all kinds of different colors, all those types of things. This happens to be bluegill. I'm really kind of targeting bluegill here. But the cool thing is, this is all I gotta carry. I can put it in a Ziploc bag and I have everything I need. There's two different kinds of skirts, right? There's the ones with the rubber bands like this one. And then there's these other ones like this, which is a collar. Okay, these are a little bit different. They cost a little bit more, but I really like them. This one's called Signature Candy Watermelon. Okay, I paired that with this X-Zone. I think that's called IU. Yeah, kind of a cream on the bottom, watermelon on top. And then this one is called Signature GP Green Pumpkin Purple Crawl. Again, that's the collar style one. I really like those. They're a little pain to get slipped on, but if you just take a little bit of scent, I use the Procure. I just put a dab of Procure on the collar. I got to push it over on the front, and it slid right up on there. Pretty simple. Let's talk about those. So the shaky head, I use a lot around docks. I'm really kind of using the shaky head for more specific stuff. If you're practicing, haven't been out in a while, you may throw it a little bit more. But typically come tournament time, I'm kind of dialed into exactly where I want to put it. And the rest of the time I will use that jig. This time of year, I am going to be using a lot of that dirty jig, the pitching model, which is that kind of rounded head there. And then I'm going to use the swim jig to cover water around likely areas. Now, one thing I do want to give you this is a bit of juice here, folks, so take this to the bank. Don't sit in an area for too long if you're not getting bit. I'm not telling you don't come back and fish it. I'm just telling you don't sit in an area too long. If you don't get bit in 15 minutes or so, pick up, go to the next spot. You can come back in an hour. But somewhere they are biting. If you're having to force the fish to bite, move on, come back, or just keep moving on and keep going to different places until you bump into them. As long as they're biting, hey, sit there and catch them. I'm Sean, the Average Angler. Thanks for watching. Really appreciate it. We'll get that live ironed out, I promise. See you soon.